Hi, I'm David. Thank you for spending the night with us. Tonight we go back 1,000 years, and we go a very long way from land, out onto the Pacific Ocean, where the greatest sailors the world has ever known crossed thousands of miles of open water with no compass, no chart, and no instruments at all. Only the stars, the swells, the birds, and a trained human memory. You are a young crew member on a voyaging canoe tonight, keeping the quiet watch beside the Navigator. Everything you will hear is drawn from real history and living tradition, and the sources are listed below. There are no ads waiting to wake you, and nothing sudden ever happens here. Before we begin, one quiet word. If these nights help you sleep, subscribe now while your eyes are still open, and tomorrow night will be waiting for you when you need it. A like helps other tired travelers find this fire. That is the whole ask. So settle in, let the day go, and let the past keep you company. Good night. Welcome, traveler. You can close your eyes now. There is nothing here you need to see with your eyes open, and nothing here that needs anything from you at all. Tonight, the only work being done is the work of resting, and you are already doing it perfectly. Tonight we are going back 1,000 years, and we are going farther from land than you may ever have been in your waking life, out into the middle of the largest single thing on the face of the earth. Not the largest ocean, the largest thing. The Pacific is so wide that you could lift up every continent and every island on the planet, set them all down inside it side by side, and still have ocean left over. From the deck where you will sleep tonight, the nearest land is 3 days behind you and 2 days ahead, and in every direction, the world is water all the way to its edge, and above the water is the sky, and that is all there is, and it is enough, because the people you are sailing with tonight can read both of those things, the water and the sky, the way you can read a book. Here is what the rest of the world will take centuries to understand about this ocean. It looks empty. It is not empty. It is scattered with islands, the way the night sky is scattered with stars. Thousands of them, some great and green and mountained, most of them small, many of them hundreds of miles from their nearest neighbor. And in this age, 1,000 years ago, the finding of them is the great work of a whole civilization, a work already 2,000 years old and still gloriously unfinished, the last great blank spaces on the human map being filled in, one canoe at a time, in the very lifetimes of the people you are sailing with. While most of the sailors of the wider world still creep along their coastlines and anchor each night within sight of land, the people of this ocean sail out over the curve of the earth to islands so small and so far apart that no other sailors on earth will attempt anything like it for another 500 years. They did it in vessels built without a single nail, because there is no metal in this entire world, none, not one piece, and none is missed. Wood, stone, bone, shell, and fiber, and nothing else, and it is enough. They did it with no compass, no chart, no writing, and no instrument of any kind. What they had instead was trained memory, trained senses, and the patience of generations, and with those three things, they solved the largest ocean on earth. They carried it in their heads. It is one of the greatest things human beings have ever learned to do. And tonight, you are going to watch it being done, all night long, from the best seat there is. You are young tonight, and you are crew. The canoe you stand on has 2 hulls, side by side, joined by great crossbeams, with a platform of lashed poles laid between them, and on the platform, a small thatched shelter, a hearth of sand and stone, and the sleeping mats of the people you love best in the world, because a crew this far out at sea is a family whether it started as one or not. This one started as one. The old man who commands this canoe, the Navigator, is of your mother's family, and he has begun to teach you, which is why, tonight, while the others sleep, you will sit beside him at the stern and keep the quiet watch. That is the whole of tonight's story. A meal, a watch, a sky, and sleep. If you drift off in the middle of it, that is not an interruption. That is the story working. Nothing bad happens on this ocean tonight. Nothing surprising happens either. The weather is the settled weather of the voyaging season, chosen for exactly this passage. The trade wind has blown warm and steady from the same quarter for 3 days, and will blow for 3 more. The sea runs in a long, slow, even swell, the gentlest motion a boat can know. This passage is not an adventure. It is a road, sailed by this canoe and her mothers for generations, and the landfall at the end of it is not a hope. It is an appointment. The only decision anyone will ask of you this whole night is whether you would like to eat before your watch or during it. And before this night is over, the old man beside you will give you 2 gifts, and it is fair that you know them now, so that nothing later comes as a surprise. The first is the answer to a question you have carried since you were small. How a man with no compass and no chart, on an ocean with no landmarks at all, can be certain at every hour of the day and the night of exactly where he is, and why the Navigator has never once in his long life been lost. The second is a secret about islands themselves, that a canoe does not find an island the way a thrown stone finds a mark, because an island, truly, comes out to meet you a full day before your eyes could ever find it. The sea you are lying on tonight is not a wilderness. It is a road with lights along it, and you are going to learn to see them. That is the whole of it. Nothing else is coming. So, let the last of the daylight go now, and come stand on the platform between the hulls as the sun touches the sea. The sun goes down at sea, the way a stone sinks in clear water, steadily, unhurried, exactly where you knew it would. All day, it has crossed the sky over your left shoulder, and now it stands ahead of you, and a little to the side, swelling and reddening as it drops, laying a path of hammered copper across the water from the horizon to your bow. The canoe runs gently along the edge of that path, as if she meant to, rising and settling, and the light climbs the woven sail and turns it the color of embers, and then the sun touches the sea, and flattens and slips, and is gone, and the whole western sky lets out its color slowly, gold, then rose, then a deep clean green at the horizon's very lip, and then the blue that comes after, the blue that goes down forever. You have learned already that the sun is the first teacher of the day and the last. Where it rises and where it sets are 2 of the fixed doors of the world, and the old man checks them each morning and each evening against the line of the canoe, the way a careful host checks his own doorway, out of habit older than thought. He has done it tonight, one long look from the stern, and said nothing, because there is nothing to say. The canoe is on her road. The road is where it was yesterday. All is as it should be, and the silence of a navigator is the deepest comfort his crew owns. The flying fish are up in the last light, little silver slivers bursting from the face of a swell, sailing 100 lengths of their own small bodies on stiff shining wings, and slipping back into the sea with hardly a stitch of white. Later tonight, 1 or 2 of them will land on the platform itself with a soft slap, startled by the hulls, and the youngest crew will gather them at dawn. On your first evening out, with the home island still a low green line astern, You watch the seabirds cross the sunset. The other way, noddies and white terns in small hurrying parties, all flying one direction, home to sleep on land, as they do every single night of their lives. The old man lifted his chin at them that evening and said only, "Mark that. Birds keep house. At dusk they will always show you where the land is. There are no birds tonight. You are too far out, in the deep water between their kingdoms. And even that is a kind of signpost, and he taught you to read it. The empty sky of the middle passage that says, correctly, you are exactly where you should be, which is far from everywhere and on your way." Overhead, one by one, in an order the old man knows the way you know your own name, the stars are coming out. The brightest first, alone in the violet, then their companions, then the crowds. Ahead of the canoe, low in the darkening west, a certain bright star hangs above one certain point of the horizon, and the helmsman, without any word spoken, eases the great steering sweep until the bow sits just so beneath it. The night's work has begun, the quietest work there is, and from the little hearth amidships comes the one smell in the world better than a clean sea wind, which is supper. While the meal finishes cooking, take a moment to know the vessel that is going to hold you all night, because she is worth knowing. She is the finest thing her island makes, and among the finest things her age makes anywhere on earth, though the wider world will not learn that for many centuries. She is 2 hulls, as long as 10 men lying head to foot, each one begun from the trunk of a great tree, felled with fire and stone adzes, and shaped over months in the shade of the canoe house on the beach. A single trunk is not deep enough for an ocean, so her sides are raised with planks. And here is the first wonder, and your hand can find it in the dark. The planks are sewn on, holes bored along every edge with drills of bone and shell, and through the holes, stitch by patient stitch, runs cord, hundreds of arm spans of cord, drawing plank to hull and plank to plank. The way a sail is sewn, the seams paid watertight with sap of the breadfruit tree and wads of fiber. She is not hammered together. There is nothing to hammer and nothing to hammer with. She is sewn and she is tied, every joint in her body, and that is not a weakness. That is the secret of her life. The cord is sennit, braided from the husks of coconuts, soaked and beaten and rolled into fiber, then plaited into line by the old women and the old men of your island, whose hands do it without looking. A season's work of evenings for the rigging of one canoe. Miles of it, if you laid it end to end, coiled and knotted and lashed through this whole vessel, holding the cross beams to the hulls, the platform to the cross beams, the mast in its step, your whole world at sea to itself. And because every joint is a lashing and not a nail, every joint gives a little, exactly as much as it should. When a swell lifts one hull before the other, the canoe does not fight it rigidly. She flexes, the way a body flexes, and 10,000 lashings each take their small share of the strain and pass it along and let it go. You can hear that happening, right now, all around you in the dark, a low creak and work and sigh, over and over with each passing swell. A landsman might think the sound was the canoe complaining. It is the opposite. It is the sound of the strain being shared, of nothing anywhere bearing more than it can bear. You will fall asleep to it later tonight, and it will be the truest lullaby you have ever heard. Above you, the sail stands full of the warm wind, and the sail is a woven thing, like the mats you sleep on, made of pandanus leaves, cut and boiled and dried and split into strips, and plaited by hand into a single great supple sheet, edged and roped, shaped like the wing of a frigate bird, wide at the head and sweeping to points. It holds the wind with a deep, soft steadiness, no crack or snap, just a full and gentle pull, hour after hour, the whole night through. At the stern, the great steering sweep rides in the water, a paddle taller than any man aboard, its shaft worn glass smoothed by hands. The helmsman leans on it as much as pulls it, small patient touches, keeping the bow beneath its star, and that is all of her. Wood, leaf, and cord, sap, and stone, and shell. Not one nail, not one instrument. She is everything her ocean can give and everything the ocean asks, and she has made this passage more times than you have made any journey of your life, and the sea has yet to find a fault in her. The hearth is a shallow box of sand and stone, lashed fast amidships where the platform rides steadiest, and the fire in it is small and tame, coconut husk and shell burning slow and dim, tended all day by the oldest woman aboard, who is your great aunt, and whose kingdom this is. No flame aboard a canoe is ever left to itself. Fire at sea is like a child at the water's edge, watched always, and it repays the watching, because from that little bed of embers comes everything warm on this voyage. Tonight there is fresh fish. Through the afternoon, a line trailed astern from the platform's corner, and on it a lure your people make more beautifully than anyone on any sea. A slip of pearl shell, ground and polished into the shape of a small darting fish, shimmering blue and silver as it skips in the wake, with a point of bone beneath. No bait, none needed. The shell itself is the lie, and it is a lie the great fish believe. Late in the day, the line came alive, and now the catch is grilled over the embers on green sticks, and the smell of it moves along the platform and wakes appetites all the way forward. With it, there is the food of every long passage. Breadfruit, cooked and fermented and packed moons ago into leaf-lined baskets, sour and rich and strong, a food that keeps for a year and feeds a voyage the whole way. There is taro, boiled at home and dense as memory. There are bananas from a bunch ripening along the shelter's ridgepole, and strips of dried fish from home water, and to end, for each of you, a small knob of pandanus paste, sticky and sweet as honey. You drink from a green coconut, husked open with 3 practiced blows on a stake of hard wood. The first days of any passage are drunk from the coconuts, because they carry their own water sweeter than any well, and everyone emptied is one less to store. After them wait the gourds and the long bamboo joints, corked with wooden leaf, lashed in rows in the hulls, filled at home and rationed by the old woman with a fairness no chief could improve on. And when rain comes, and it will, some easy afternoon shower somewhere ahead, the sail itself will be slacked into a broad woven funnel, and the sweet water led down into the empty vessels, the canoe drinking from the sky the way everything in this ocean drinks, easily, in season, enough. The crew eats gathered around the hearth's glow, 16 of you, kin and near kin, brown faces warm in the ember light, and the talk is low and unhurried, and much of it is teasing, because a happy crew teases the way a full sail pulls, constantly and without harm. The helmsman is teased about his humming. The old woman is teased that she rations the pandanus sweet like a woman guarding pearls, and she answers that pearls are common where she comes from and sweets are not, and everyone laughs quietly, and someone begins a song with almost no tune to it, the kind that is less music than a way of breathing together, beyond the small ring of ember light. There is the great ring of the sea, and the night wind, and the stars. And the old man eats last and little, as he always does, his eyes moving from the sail's head to the western horizon and back. And when he sets down his leaf and rises, you rise too, because that is the signal, and your watch, the learning watch, the quiet watch, has come. He settles at his place at the stern, on a low seat of lashed wood beside the steering sweep, where he can rest one bare foot against the sweep shaft, and one palm flat on the deck timber. And you settle beside him, and for a long while he says nothing at all, and you have learned that the silence is not absence. It is the lesson. He is listening to the canoe with the soles of his feet and the skin of his hand, reading the water's grain through her timbers, and what he wants you to do is nothing more than sit inside that, listening until it begins to soak into you. Look at him a moment, sidelong, the way you do. He is old. How old no one measures. Old enough that men who are themselves gray come to him with the shyness of boys. He is not large. His eyes are half shut most of the time, red-rimmed always, because a navigator at sea does not sleep as other people sleep. Since the home island sank behind you 3 days ago, he has rested only in fragments, brief naps sitting upright, a hand always on wood, waking whole between one swell and the next. His body does the arithmetic of rest in small coins, so that his mind never once sets down its cargo, and what his mind is carrying, you are beginning to understand, is the voyage itself, all of it, every hour of it, held and updated and never dropped, the way other people carry their own names. Ashore, he is treated the way your people treat the precious few who hold the deep knowledge, with honor that has weight to it, first portions and first greetings, and the best shade at every gathering. It is not deference to age. It is that the whole life of an island rides on what men like him carry. The fish beyond the reef, the trade with kin across the water, the finding of new land in the old stories, the return from every one of these, all of it rests in the trained memory of a handful of navigators, and such knowledge is not scattered abroad. It is a family's treasure and a family's trust, handed down with terrible care, and this is what it means that he has begun to hand it to you. When he chose you, your mother wept, and you did not fully understand why, and tonight, 3 days out, with the whole dark Pacific breathing under your crossed legs, you are beginning to. He begins, when he begins, without beginning. That is his way. He simply speaks, low, toward the bow, as if resuming something. Tonight he says, I will give you the doors of the sky, and the road of stars, and the feel of the old swell under the young waves. You will not hold it all. You are not meant to. You will hold a corner of it tonight, and a corner more each voyage, and one day, long after I am done, your body will know it whole, and you will sit where I am sitting, and some sleepy child will sit where you are sitting, and the ocean will go on being known. He tips his head back then, to the enormous sky, all of it out now, blazing, the great soft river of light, running shore to shore across the black. Now, he says, look where the bright one stands, lo, above the place the sun went down. There, that is tonight's first door. You look where he is looking. Low in the west, above the place where the sun went into the sea, the bright star hangs, and beneath it, dark against the last deep green of the horizon, the bow of the canoe rises and settles, as though the star were a lamp hung in a doorway, and the canoe a traveler walking toward it down a long straight lane. Everything begins with the doors, he says. And so he gives you the doors, the first part of the first gift, in that low, unhurried voice, while the sky finishes filling above you. The horizon, he says, is the one thing on this ocean that never moves, not the horizon of the day, which is only water, the horizon of the night. See it as a ring, a great ring laid flat around the world, with the canoe at its center, and set into that ring, at fixed places, doors, where a star is born up out of the sea. In the east, that is a door, where that same star, hours later, goes back down into the sea in the west. That is another door, its partner, across the ring. The stars rise and climb and wheel and set. The whole sky turns over you, all night, like a great slow bowl, but the doors do not move. That star ahead of us came up tonight. Through the same eastern door, it has risen from every night of his life, and it will go down tonight. Through the same western door, it has gone down through since his grandfather's grandfather watched it as a boy, and it will do the same tomorrow, and the same in the year of your old age, and the same for your grandchildren's grandchildren. The stars keep their doors, he says, the way birds keep their nests. Nothing up there is wandering. Everything in that sky is going home by a road it has always used, and if you learn the doors, all of their roads become your roads. How many doors, you ask, and you hear the smile arrive in his voice before the answer does. More than you have fingers and toes, he says, each one with its name, and its own stars, and its own winds, and this is the part you did not expect when you were small. The doors are not only for steering. Everything in this world is named from the ring. When he names the wind that has carried you these 3 days, warm and faithful, over the back of your right shoulder, its name tells which door it blows from. When he names the long swell running under the hulls, its name tells which door it was born from, far away over the curve of the sea. Home is a door. The island you are sailing toward is a door. Every course this canoe has ever sailed is a door. And the old man carries the whole ring in his mind, the way you carry the walls of your own house in yours, so that a crewman shaken awake in the black middle of the night knows, before his eyes are open, which way every door in the world is standing. And here's the mercy built into it, the part that made you laugh out loud on the beach the day you first understood it. You do not need the whole sky. If cloud takes most of the night and leaves one clean patch low on the ring, with one known star standing in one known door, that single star hands you back everything, because the ring never changes its shape. Know one door truly, and you know where all of them stand. It is like knowing a whole song from a single note, he says, if you have sung the song your whole life. A star tells the truth, he says, only while it is low. Look at the bright one ahead. It is honest now, standing just over its own doorway, and the helmsman can lean the bow against it and trust it. But as a star climbs, it drifts away from its door, the way smoke leans away from the fire that made it, and by the time it stands high overhead, it is no use to any sailor. It is only beautiful. So the night steering lives at the edges of the sky, among the rising and the setting stars, the ones with their feet still in their doorways. The middle of the sky is for other things, and you will hear about one of them before you sleep. The rim of the sky is for the road. You go around the ring quietly to yourself, eyes closed, naming the doors you have so far, the canoe rising and settling beneath you like slow breathing. Perhaps a third of the ring lives in your body now, where it has to live, deeper than remembering. The rest is coming, a few doors every voyage. There's no hurry of any kind. The ring has stood around the world since before the first canoe, and it will stand there, patient, all the years it takes you to learn its names. Now watch the bright one, the old man says, because it is nearly done with us. You watch. The star ahead has been settling all this while, lower and lower over its door, and as it nears the sea it begins to change, the way the sun changed, growing softer, growing redder, its light thickening as it sinks through the deep air at the world's edge, until it burns low and warm like a far-off ember. Then the sea's black line touches it. Then there is a little of it. Then there is none. The star has gone through its door, gone home under the west, and the doorway ahead of the canoe stands empty, and the bow rises and settles toward a darkness with nothing in it at all. And nothing happens. The helmsman does not stir. The old man does not speak. The canoe runs on exactly as she ran, because this was not a loss, it was an appointment kept, and everyone aboard but you was watching something else. Look higher, the old man says at last, gently, on the same slanting road. You look higher, and there, a hand's breadth up the western sky, already leaning down the very same slanted path the first star traveled, comes another star, following its elder toward the same door in the sea, the way one child follows another through a gap in the reef. Every star that shares a door, he tells you, walks the same road down to it. They come on in single file all night long, spaced out up the sky, like travelers on a lane at festival time, and as each one sinks too low and thickens and reddens and drowns, the next is already sloping in behind it, and the helmsman simply lifts his eyes from the drowned star to the living one, and never moves the sweep at all. The course has not changed. Only the lamp in the doorway has been changed, and the night itself changed it. This is the road of stars. This is how a canoe is steered from dusk to dawn, and the second part of the first gift. And now that you have seen the handing over once, the old man lays the whole of it before you. Tonight, he says, this course will use 10 stars, perhaps 12. He knows them all, in their order, the whole procession for this door on this passage in the season, learned when he was smaller than you are now, said over and over on the beach at his teacher's knee, until the line of them ran by itself, the way you can say, the line of your own ancestors backward, without once stopping to think. A road of stars for every door, and a door for every road his people sail, all of it carried in memory, nothing written, for in this whole world there is no writing, and none is needed. What lives in men, he says, tapping his temple once, cannot be washed overboard. And there is more in the handing over than one door, he says. Watch the helmsman a while, how he keeps his truth. When the star stands fair in the doorway, he holds the bow beneath it, sighting past a certain lashing on the rail that he knows as well as his own knuckles. When the door stands empty a moment, between the drowning of one star and the arriving of the next, he holds the course by the stars on either side of the door, the neighbors, each in its own doorway along the ring. And now and again, you notice, he turns and looks the other way entirely, astern, where the stars of the east are climbing out of their own doors above the wake, and he checks the road behind against the road ahead, the way a walker on a long beach glances back at his own footprints to see that they run straight. The night is full of witnesses, the old man says. No star stands alone. Each one is checked against its fellows, ahead, behind, abeam, so that no single cloud and no single tired eye can ever bend the course. That is why there is no worry in this work. The sky does not ask to be trusted. It asks to be known. Then he does the thing you will remember when you are as old as he is. He nods you forward to the helmsman's side, and the helmsman, warm and easy, gives you the sweep. Your palms settle on the shaft, where 10,000 palms have worn it smooth as wet stone, and through it, at once, you can feel the whole living conversation, the water talking along the blade, the swell lifting the stern, the small, honest pull of the sail come down the mast and through the platform into the wood under your hands. Hold her under the star, is all the helmsman says, and for the length of 40 slow breaths, the voyage is yours. The new star sits low in the doorway. The bow rises and settles beneath it. Twice it slides a little wide, and you lean the sweep, less than you thought you would need, and the bow comes home again, obedient as a well-raised child. Nothing about it is heavy. That is what you had not known, and what no one could have told you. The canoe wants her course, the way water wants the sea. The wind is doing the pulling, and the swell is doing the carrying, and the star is doing the pointing, and all a helmsman does, all night, is keep a small kind agreement among them. You give back the sweep. Your heart is loud, and your face is hot with pride in the dark, and the old man says nothing at all, which from him is a great deal. Behind you in those minutes, without your noticing, the moon has gone. It was up at dusk, low and thin in the west, silvering the wave tops, making the first hour steering soft and easy, and now it has followed the sun and the first star down under the rim, and the night has come into its full deep blackness, which is not a loss either, for with the moon gone, the lesser stars come up out of hiding by the thousand, and the great soft river of light across the middle of the sky brightens from shore to shore, and the whole procession of the western sky stands out plainer than ever, each star on its slanting road, each road bound for its own door, the entire night ordered and marching and known. The sky is not a scattering, you think, leaning back on your hands on the warm dry wood. That is only how it looks from land. The sky is a procession, and every marcher in it knows its door, and the canoe walks along beneath the procession all night, on a road made of stars laid end to end. Now, the old man says, we will put the sky away for a while, because a navigator who needs his eyes is only half a navigator. Lie down, flat on your back, on the deck timber, arms at your sides. Close your eyes. You do it. The wood is smooth and faintly warm under you, holding a little of the day the way everything wooden does, and with your eyes closed, the night rearranges itself at once. The creak and work of the lashings is suddenly everywhere, all around you, slow and regular as the breathing of a great sleeping animal. The water talks along both hulls, one voice on either side of you, close, endless, never twice the same, and never once alarming. And underneath all of it, underneath you, there is the motion. Now, he says, stop listening. Feel. And you begin to sort it, because he has begun to teach you how. What your body called, all your life, simply the sea, is not one motion. It is several, riding through each other, and each one has a name and a door and a story, and they can be told apart by a body that has learned to listen through its bones. First, the small quick chop, the little young waves slapping and pattering at the planks. Those are children of the wind of the hour, he says, born close by, and they die when their wind dies. They tell you what the wind is doing now, and nothing else. Feel them and let them go. Under them, longer and stronger, comes the wind swell, the running sea, the trade wind has built over its steady days of blowing, rolling up from behind the quarter, lifting the stern, passing along, faithful as the wind itself. But under even that, if you lie still and let your whole back do the listening, there is something else. A long, slow, deep motion, wide-spaced and unhurried, that does not match the wind of the hour or the wind of the week. It comes up from under everything, like the turn of the world itself, lifts the whole canoe, both hulls, the platform, you, the sleeping crew, the banked fire, all of it, one long, easy breath at a time, and sets it all down again and goes on its way. That, the old man says, is the Old Swell. It was not born here. It was born far away, over the rim of the world, days ago, weeks ago, under some great wind you will never meet, and it has been walking ever since, out from under the wind that made it, across whole empty countries of ocean, growing smoother and longer and calmer with every day of the journey, the way a runner settles into a stride he could hold forever. The wind that made it may be gone now, he says. The swell remembers. The swell goes on. It is the oldest and steadiest traveler on the whole sea. It keeps its direction for days on end, and that is why it is precious beyond price to a navigator. Because on the night when cloud closes over the whole ring of the sky, and no door and no star can be seen anywhere, the Old Swell is still there, still walking its own known road under the canoe, and a man who can feel its angle through the hulls can hold his course by his body alone until the stars come back. He has done it, he tells you. Whole nights, in his middle years, on other passages, under skies shut tight as a clay bowl, sitting exactly where he sits now, with one palm on the timber, and the swell speaking up through the wood into his hand, and the canoe never wandering. His teacher could do it lying down in the hull, half asleep, and would call the corrections up softly, without ever opening his eyes, and the young men at the sweep thought it was a marvel, and it was, but it was a marvel the way a lifetime is a marvel. It is nothing but attention, he says, laid down year upon year like plaited cord, until the body itself is the instrument, the whole canoe is the instrument, and the man and the vessel together become one listening thing. Feel it now yourself. The little chop, pattering, meaning nothing. The wind swell, rolling up from behind, faithful, and the Old Swell underneath, long and slow, lifting everything, letting everything down, on and on and on, older than the wind, older than the voyage, going its own sure way to its own far door. Your body rises with it, and settles with it, rises and settles. There is nowhere you have ever lain, no bed and no beach, and no childhood mat, that held you more completely than this platform is holding you now, moving as it is held as it moves. The two hulls answer the swell one after the other, he says, and that is the last of the lesson and the finest part. The swell comes in on the quarter, so it takes the near hull first, lifts it, passes under the platform, takes the far hull, lets the near one down, lets the far one down. One, then the other, never together, never apart, a long rocking rhythm as old as the sea, and the canoe rides it the way a gull rides the air, taking the shape of what carries her. If the feel of that rhythm changes in the night, the navigator's body wakes him, because a change in the rhythm means the canoe has swung or the sea has, and either one is news. But it will not change tonight. Tonight the rhythm is set fair, and you may trust it the way you trust your own heartbeat, which by now, you notice, has slowed to keep it company. Open your eyes now, the old man says, and there is something in his voice, some small held pleasure that makes you sit up, come to the stern rail, look down behind us where we have been, and the sea is on fire with cold light. Out from under the two hulls, unrolling away behind the canoe as far as you can follow it into the dark, the wake is glowing. Two long ribbons of pale silver green light, one from each hull, braiding together into a single shining road that lies across the black water all the way back toward the edge of the world, as though someone had taken the great soft river of light overhead and laid a thread of it out flat along the sea. Where the steering sweep stirs the water, light swirls up around the blade like sparks around a stirred ember. Where the small waves break against the hulls, they break in light. The drips that fall from the sweep shaft fall as single sparks, each one striking its own small ring of glow where it lands, and away out to the sides, now and again, something living, a fish, a squid, some traveler of the deep night, draws its own brief line of fire under the surface and is gone. The sea makes its own light where it is stirred. Your people have always known it, the way you know rain. In the world you came from, traveler, they will one day learn the how of it, that the ocean's surface waters are full of living things far too small for any eye to see, uncountable billions of them, each one carrying its own minute cold spark, which it strikes when the water around it is suddenly moved. Nothing on this ocean is emptiness, not even the black water itself. What looks like nothing at all is a broth of small lives, thick beyond imagining, and every moving thing writes its passage across them in light. The canoe has been writing all night. You simply could not read it until the moon went down. The old man stands beside you at the rail, looking back along the shining road with an expression you cannot quite make out in the dark. And what he says quietly, "There is the course we have already sailed," he says. "The sea is showing it to you. Look how straight." And it is. That is the thing that goes through you, standing there with the warm wind on your back and the whole night ocean glowing behind the only home you have. The road of light does not wander. It runs back true, mile after shining mile, a single clean, unhesitating line across the face of the deep, drawn by an old man's knowing and a helmsman's small kind, touches, and a procession of stars, each keeping its door. Ahead of the canoe, the road of stars, sloping down the western sky toward the doorway of the course. Behind the canoe, this road of sea light, unrolling from the twin sterns, proving every mile of the night's work. A road before, written in fire above the water. A road behind, written in fire upon it, and the canoe between them, small and dry and warm and utterly unlost, walking from one into the other all night long. You will sleep between those two roads tonight. Very few human beings who have ever lived will get to do that in all the long history of the world, and tonight one of them is you. You settle back into your place beside him at the stern, and for a while, neither of you speaks, and the canoe runs on down the middle of the night, and you find yourself watching him again, sidelong, in the starlight. Because there is one more part to the first gift, the question under all the others, the one you have carried since you were small, the doors, the road of stars, the Old Swell, you have them now, or the beginnings of them. But how does he hold it all together? How does a man know, not just his course, but his place, out here, where every mile of water looks like every other mile, at every hour of the day and the night, for days on end? And because he is your teacher, he hears the question before you ask it. What I carry, he says, is the whole voyage, not the course only, the voyage. Since the moment the home island went down behind us, I have kept the count. Every hour of every day and every night, I know how fast she has been going, because the water tells me along the hull. I know which way she has been pointing, because the doors tell me. I know what the current has been doing beneath us, quiet as it is, and what the wind has been stealing from our line, because those two have their signs, and all of it, hour upon hour, day upon day, I add to the picture and never once set it down. In here, he says, and he does not tap his head. He lays his hand flat on his chest. In here there is a sea. The home island is on it, paying out behind us. The island we are sailing to is on it, drawing in ahead, and the canoe stands still at the center of my picture, and the ocean itself streams slowly past her, carrying the islands with it, the way the ring of the horizon stands still, while the stars stream through the doors. Hour by hour I move the islands. That is all navigation is, little one. The whole art, at the bottom of it, is one man agreeing never to stop paying attention. That is why he sleeps as he sleeps, in fragments, sitting up, a hand always on the wood, not because he fears the sea, because the picture must be fed. A navigator who sleeps the night through has torn his own map, and there is no mending it out here, no rock to sight, no shore to ask. You cannot be a little bit lost on this ocean, he says. A man who keeps the count is never lost at all, and a man who drops it cannot pick it up again. So it is never dropped. It has never once been dropped in his life afloat. And there is the answer entire, the first gift, given whole. He has never been lost, because he has never stopped knowing, and he has never stopped knowing, because he has decided, every hour of every voyage, for 60 years, not to. His certainty is not a gift the sea gave him. It is a thing he makes, all night long, every night, the way the hearth makes warmth, and the whole crew sleeps in the glow of it. He tells you one thing more, because tonight is a teaching night. Above every island worth sailing to, he says, there's a star that comes, in its season, to stand directly over it, the island's own star, standing at the top of the sky, above that one place and no other. The old people teach it so, island by island, star by star. And though a man steers by the doors and not by the top of the sky, it is a good thing, on a long passage, to look up in the deep of the night and see the star of the island you seek, burning up there ahead of you, high over the doorway of your course, like a lamp lit in a window by someone who knows you are coming. You look up, ahead and high, over the door of the course. The stars stand thick as spray. One of them, he says, belongs to your landfall. 2 more nights, and it will be standing over your masthead. And you should know, he says after a moment, quieter, that all of this was paid for. The doors, the roads, the swells, the picture that is never set down. None of it was guessed. All of it was found, voyage by voyage, generation upon generation, and some of the canoes that went out, finding it, did not come home, and their names are kept too, in the same long memory that keeps the stars. He says it the way a man touches the doorpost of his house in passing, respect old enough to be gentle, and then it is said, and the night goes on as before, warm and steady and safe. For that was the price of the road, and it was paid long ago, and this is the road now, known and provisioned and sure, in the settled season, under a faithful wind. The old man is not remembering grief. He is keeping accounts, and the accounts are in balance, and the proof of the balance is this whole sleeping canoe. Think of what is being kept in that one silhouette beside you, in the head of one old man, nodding at the stern of a wooden vessel, in the middle of the largest thing on earth, a ring of doors, and every star that uses them, a road of stars for every course his people sail, the feel of every swell on every quarter, the picture of the moving sea, fed hour by hour for days without rest, stars that stand over islands, winds and their seasons, birds and their habits, clouds and their meanings, a whole science, complete, correct, tested across the widest water in the world, and not one line of it written anywhere except in living people. In the world you come from, traveler, knowledge is kept in things, in books and stones and marks, and the things outlive the people. Here it is kept only in people, breath to breath, teacher to child, and so every navigator dozing at every stern tonight, all across this enormous ocean, is a library. You are sitting beside one. He is perhaps the calmest thing you have ever been near. And one day, if you keep the count, the library will be you. Deep in the middle of the night, the canoe changes hands. No one calls anyone. That is the first small wonder of it. The relief helmsman simply wakes, on his own, out of the darkness of the sleeping mats, because he was told the stars of his watch as a child, the same as you were, and some keeping part of him has watched them climb, even through his sleep. And when the stars of his watch stood where they stand, his eyes opened. All over this ocean, on every canoe abroad tonight, men are waking exactly so, called by nothing but the turning sky, the oldest appointment-keeping in the world. He sits up on his mat, is still for the length of a few swells, letting his body find the night, the wind, the rhythm of the hulls, one and then the other. Then he rises and comes aft along the platform, bare feet certain on the lashed poles, stepping over a sleeper, ducking the low line, touching the shelter's ridge pole in passing, a big quiet man, moving through his own house in the dark. The handing over is 4 low sentences and lasts as long as a drink of water. The going helmsman names the star now standing in the door, and the one that will follow it, and the one after that, which will carry the watch to the paling of the east. He names the wind, steady on the quarter, and the swell, steady beneath it, no change since dusk. He says the course is fair, and the canoe is dry. The relief sets his hand on the sweep, beside the other man's hand, feels the water talking along the blade for a moment, the two of them holding her together, and then the first hand slides off, and the exchange is made, and the canoe is passed from one pair of palms to another, as smoothly as the door passed from star to star, and she never felt the seam. The old woman is awake too. You did not hear her wake, but there she is at the hearth, crouched in the dim red glow of it, because a watch change is a small mouth of hunger, and she has ruled this hearth too long not to know it. She rakes the embers together, sets the relieved helmsman's portion in his hands, cold roasted breadfruit and a strip of dried fish, and pours him his measured drink from the gourd, the night ration, no more and no less, given out at dusk and at the change and at dawn, the same fair measure for the biggest man aboard and the youngest. He eats standing, hip against the shelter, unhurried. You are given yours too, for keeping the learning watch, and you remember, as you take it, the one decision anyone asked of you tonight, whether to eat before your watch or during it, and you understand now that the right answer was the one you gave, which was both. And from somewhere inside her wrappings, the old woman produces, without one word, a knob of the pandanus sweet, and breaks it, and gives you the bigger half, and her hand on your cheek afterward is dry and warm as sun-warmed wood, and that is all the conversation there is. The relieved helmsman finishes, rinses his fingers over the side, and goes forward to the warm dent in the mats the other man left. He is asleep, truly asleep, between one swell and the next. You can hear it in his breathing, that fast and that whole. No lying awake, no turning, no thoughts crowding in the dark, and you know why now. It is not that he is too tired for thoughts. It is that there is nothing aboard this canoe for a thought to do. The count is kept, the old man is keeping it, the course is held, his brother of the watch is holding it. The water is measured and sufficient, the food is stored and sure, the hulls are sound and sewn, and breathing under the platform, and the landfall is an appointment, not a hope. Aboard this canoe, worry would simply be a man doing, badly, in the dark, a thing that a better man is already doing well, so no one does it. Sleep here is not surrender. It is trust, laid down flat, and it is the plainest compliment a crew can pay its navigator, and all around you, in the dark, the whole family is paying it at once. The old woman banks the fire again, coaxing the embers into their bed of sand, and lies back down. The new helmsman settles, finds the star in the door, hums 2 notes to himself, the same 2, and falls silent. The canoe runs on. It is the deepest hour of the night now, and everything alive aboard her except 3 people is asleep, and everything that is awake is content. In the deep hours, to keep the watch company, the old man talks, not teaching now, or not exactly. Stories, told low, hardly above the sound of the water, the kind of talk that is half for you and half for the night itself. He tells you how the doors of the sky are remembered, because a bare list of names would blow away like dry sand. Every door has its stories, he says, and the stories are the baskets the knowledge is carried in. This star and that one are 2 brothers who fish the same channel, one going out as the other comes home. That pair there, low in the south, are a grandmother and her granddaughter walking to the well, the old one always a little ahead. The star that will rise before the morning star is a lazy boy sent to fetch fire, always last, always just in time. He gives you a few of them tonight, the small ones, the watch-keeping ones, and you can feel how they work, how each story ties its stars to its door and its season, with a knot no forgetting can pick loose. A man remembers a story the way he cannot remember a list, so the whole sky, all its doors and roads and seasons, is kept as 10,000 small stories, told at sterns and hearths, and on teaching beaches, across every island of this ocean, and no child who learned the sky has stories ever found the learning dull. He tells you about his own learning, how his grandfather, when the old man was newly born, carried him down to the reef pools at the tide's turn, and set him in the warm, shallow water, and let the small swells rock him there, so that the feel of the moving sea would settle into his body, before the feel of standing on land could crowd it out. How, when he was a boy, his grandfather would lie beside him on the beach in the evenings, the 2 of them flat on their backs, on the cooling sand, and go around the ring of the world door by door until the boy fell asleep, and then again the next night, and the next, for years, until one evening the grandfather said the name of a door, and the boy, eyes shut, pointed at it true. And after that, the learning moved from the sand to the sea. How, when he was older, he was taken out past the reef and made to lie flat in the hull with his eyes closed, saying which way the swells were walking, over and over, wrong, and then less wrong, and then right. It was long, he says, and it was slow, and there were days he ran off to fish and was fetched back by the ear. He chuckles, a dry, warm sound in the dark. The sea has been paying him back for those afternoons his whole life. And he tells you, because your fingers found it in the dark and asked about the adze that shaped these hulls, the one whose blade of fine dark stone hangs wrapped in bark cloth in the shelter, too honored to be left about. That stone, he says, is not from your island. Your island stone is poor and soft. That blade came from a quarry famous across all this part of the ocean, on an island a great many days' sail away, a place where the stone comes out of the mountain, dense and true, and takes an edge like a wave's lip. It was traded, hand to hand, canoe to canoe, beach to beach, given for feathers and fine mats and pearl shell, and it crossed more open water to reach your family than most sailors of the wider world will cross in their lives. Your people are not alone out here, is what the adze means. The ocean is not a wall between the islands. It never has been. It is the road among them, busy in season, and everything good travels it. Stone and shell and cloth and pigs and breadfruit shoots and brides and songs and stories. And the proof is sleeping in the shelter of this canoe wrapped in bark cloth like a grandmother. The stories get slower after that, and softer, and start to run together the way stories do at the bottom of the night. Your head is heavy now. The old man sees it, and he does not scold, because this too is the teaching, and every navigator alive was once a young keeper of the quiet watch, swaying like seagrass beside his teacher. Lean on the timber, he says. I did not say sleep. I said lean. And you lean, and the great slow breathing of the old swell comes up through the wood into your back, one hull and then the other, and his voice goes along, above the water sounds, low and level and endless, a story about a door, and a star, and a fisherman, and you hold on to perhaps half of it, and that is exactly as much as you were meant to hold tonight. Then, some while later, in the blackest and stillest stretch of the night, with the east not yet even thinking of morning, he gives you the second gift, the one promised at dusk, the secret about islands. You asked him once, when you were small, how a canoe so little could find an island so little, in a sea so great. You had stood on the highest point of home, and seen how quickly even its great green mountain sank into the haze, and it had troubled you, the arithmetic of it. One speck of wood aiming at one speck of land across all that width. He had laughed then, and told you to come back when you were older. You are older now, he says, so hear the secret. A canoe does not find an island. An island comes out to meet the canoe. No island, he says, is only its land. That is the landsman's mistake. To think an island ends where its beaches end. An island is the center of a country of signs, and the country is vast, and it reaches out around the land on every side, over the horizon, far beyond any eye's reach of the land itself, and everything in that country says, plainly, to anyone taught to read it, land is here. Land is this way. Come. The birds are the outermost of it, the island's own farthest riders. You saw them at dusk on your first evening, the noddies and the white terns hurrying home. Every morning they fly out from their island to fish, out and out, a whole morning's flight of open water, and every evening they fly back. And so around every island in this ocean, there lies a great ring of worked sky, wider than the ring of visible land by many times. A sailor who sees a noddy at midday knows land lies within a day's easy sail, A sailor who sees one at dusk needs only watch which way it goes home. And there is his heading, given him on wings. The birds double every island, treble it, and they never lie. Then the clouds at sea travel in fleets, he says, all walking with the wind, all dying and being born as they go. But over an island, the air itself rises, all day long, off the warm land, and it builds a cloud that does not walk away, a standing cloud. It stays anchored above its island like smoke above a hearth, piling and leaning while the fleet sail past it, and a taut eye picks it out from half a day's sail beyond any sight of land. Sometimes it stands there when the island beneath it is still far below the horizon, and more, he says, lower, as if giving you something precious, which he is, where the island is one of the low ones, a ring of white sand around a lagoon. The lagoon itself paints the cloud. The still green water throws its color up, and the underbelly of the standing cloud carries a pale green stain, land's own color hung in the sky, so that a navigator reads, not only that land is there, but what manner of land it is, before any of it can be seen. And the sea itself tells. The old swell you learn tonight walks its road until it meets land, and the land bends it, turns it, sends parts of it back, and for a great distance around every island the pattern of the swells is folded and crossed, in ways the water of the open sea is never folded and crossed. A navigator, far from any sight of land, feels the canoe begin to ride differently, a small new knot in the old rhythm, one hull answering half a beat strange, and he knows something is bending the swell off that way below the horizon. Land, speaking through the water to his hand on the timber and the soles of his feet. Birds above, clouds between, swells below, driftwood on the current, and the smell of green things and of smoke carried out on the night land breeze, and other signs, finer still, that have no names in any tongue but his. Lay them all together and see what they do to the arithmetic that frightened you. The target was never the speck of land. The target is the whole wide country of signs, many times the width of the island at its heart, and a canoe has only to strike that country anywhere at all, and then walk in along the signs as calmly as a child follows a path home through known woods. That is how this ocean was crossed and settled, littlest one, not by luck and not by chancing on shores. The islands called, in bird and cloud and swell, and my people learned the whole of that language and came. So when I tell you the landfall is certain, he says, settling back, I am not being brave. I am being plain. 2 nights from now, the island's own star will stand over the masthead, and its birds will come out to meet us in the morning light, and its cloud will stand up over the doorway of our course, and its swell will take these hulls in hand, and it will draw us in the way a house draws in a guest, and we will be met on the beach by people who knew, from the season and the stars, to begin looking for a sail. It has all happened 1,000 times before, and the whole reach of it is in the count I am keeping, and nothing about tomorrow or the day after is unknown. Now look east. The night has turned. You have kept your first full watch, and the morning is beginning to think about us. And there is one thing more I want your eyes to have before I send you to the mats. It comes the way it always comes at sea, from underneath. The eastern stars grow quieter first, as though someone far below the rim had uncovered a fire. Then the black over that one door of the world softens to a deep iron gray, and the line of the horizon, lost all night, draws itself again, and the ring of the sky stands whole once more, in the first colorless light, and the old man touches your arm and points, not east toward the morning, but south of the bow, low, far off the line of the course. There, he says, what do you see? Clouds, you say, a fleet of them, small and gray in the early grayness, walking with the wind the way the fleets always walk. And then you see it. One cloud is not walking. Away off the road, low over the horizon, one small tower of cloud stands still, leaning a little, holding its ground, while the whole fleet passes it by, exactly the way smoke stands above a hearth in moving air. Beneath it, there is nothing, only the bare line of the sea. Whatever it stands above lies below the edge of the world. An island, you say, and your voice comes out a whisper. A small one, he agrees, in the same voice a man uses to name a neighbor's house on a walk. A ring of sand and palms around a lagoon, too small and too dry to live on. But the road passes it in this season. Wide, just so. And there it is, exactly where the Count said it would stand at first light. And this is why he wanted your eyes to have it, because you have heard the words all your life, and now you will keep the sight of it as long as you live. The road has lights along it. The sea you have crossed tonight looks, to a landsman, like a wilderness without one mark. And here, at the first gray breath of morning, right on its appointment, is the mark. Land you cannot even see, announcing itself from under the horizon, a lamp along the road, burning for anyone with the learning to read it. The Count is confirmed. The picture in the old man's chest and the world itself have been laid side by side this morning, and they agree, as they have agreed at every checking point of his whole long life. And then the birds come. The light is turning from gray to pearl, and out of the south, from under the standing cloud, they rise into it, first a pair, then small hurrying parties of them, noddies and white terns, lifting away from the unseen island and spreading out over the water to fish. You watch them come up the morning, like sparks from a stirred fire, and the evening lesson of 3 days ago turns over and completes itself, two halves closing like two hands. At dusk, the birds fly home and show you where the land is. At dawn, they fly out from home and show you the very same thing, turn the other way around. Dusk and dawn, out and back, the island breathing its birds out every morning and breathing them in every evening. Every island in this whole ocean, doing it in rhythm, day upon day, year upon year, faithful as the doors of the sky. One noddy passes high over the canoe itself, black and neat against the pearl-colored morning, going out to its work as you are released at last from yours, and it does not know it is a signpost, and it is the finest signpost ever made. The old man reads the sail's head and the first far color in the east, and is satisfied. Go and sleep, he says. You kept the watch well, and these are the sweetest words you have ever been paid. The mats are warm. That is the first mercy. You lie down in the place the crew left you, between your kin, under a length of soft bark cloth, on the platform between the two hulls, and the warmth of the sleepers is all around you. And the old woman, without opening her eyes, reaches out one hand and rests it a moment on your shoulder, and takes it back and sleeps on. You're tired in the best way a body can be tired, the way that has no worry anywhere in it, and the whole small world you lie in is doing what it has done all night. The two hulls run on, each with its own voice, the water braiding along them just beneath your ears, the oldest sound there is. The lashings creak and work and sigh, 10,000 knots each taking their small share and passing it along, nothing anywhere, bearing more than it can bear. The sail holds its deep, soft pull. The old swell comes up through the timber into your back, one hull and then the other, lifting everything, settling everything, the great slow breath of the sea itself, and your own breath has long since given up keeping its own time, and lies down inside that bigger rhythm like a child lying down in a parent's footprints. There is nothing in this morning that needs you. There has been nothing all night that needed you, and it will hold. The count is kept, and the man who keeps it is awake at the stern, nodding his small upright sleeps with one palm on the wood, waking whole between one swell and the next, 60 years of mornings, deep in the habit of never once dropping the world. The new star of the watch stands in its doorway, and the doorway has never moved. The helmsman leans on the smooth shaft and hums his 2 notes. The water is measured and enough. The breadfruit is sour and rich in its baskets, and will outlast the voyage with ease. The island's own star has wheeled on toward the place where it will stand over the masthead 2 nights from now. The birds are out fishing the morning. The standing cloud holds its small, faithful tower over the unseen ring of sand, away off the road, right where it should be. Everything on this ocean is where it should be, you most of all. You think, in the loose, easy way of a mind almost gone, of the world you came from, the far one, up the long river of time, where they will draw this ocean on their maps as a great blue emptiness, the biggest nothing on earth, and print little words across the middle of it that mean unknown. And you smile, because you are lying in the middle of it, and you have watched it being known all night long, not empty, never empty, a sea full of small lives thick beyond imagining, writing light around every moving thing, a sky that is a procession of appointments, all kept, roads with lamps along them, islands that call their guests in from a day away, libraries dozing at the sterns of canoes, a whole civilization riding the largest thing on the face of the earth as easily as a gull rides the air, and knowing it, all of it, by heart, in 10,000 stories, in the bodies of old men and the hands of old women and the sleepy pointing fingers of children flat on their backs on teaching beaches, and not one word of it written down, and not one word of it lost. 2 more mornings, and there will be green mountains over the bow, and the smell of rain on leaves, and people on a beach who began watching for a sail when the season said to watch. That is not a hope. It is an appointment, and the man who made it has never in his long life missed one, and it keeps. Everything out here keeps. The doors keep their stars. The stars keep their roads. The swell keeps its direction. The birds keep their hours. The cloud keeps its island. The old man keeps the count. And the count, at this very moment, is keeping you. So let go of the watch now. It was never really yours to carry. It was only yours to sit beside, the way a child sits beside a fire and is warm. The light grows slowly over the sea, and the canoe runs on toward the west with the morning behind her, rising and settling, sewn and tied and flexing and whole, and every plank and every knot of her is doing its work so that you do not have to do any work at all, ever, all the way down into sleep. The canoe will keep till morning. The road is keeping itself. The stars are keeping their doors. Sleep now, traveler. Good night. History will keep till morning.